Let's go out to Salt Lake City and talk to Janelle. What's up, Janelle?
Hey, I'm good. Can you hear me?
I can. How are you?
Okay. I am very nervous. I cannot believe that I'm actually talking to you.
I can't believe I'm talking to you.
I am so grateful and hope that you can give me words of wisdom today.
I will do my best. What's up?
So my question is, how do you live with someone that has BPD or borderline personality disorder and the guilt that comes along with that?
Ooh.
And so the background is my son, who is an adult, he's 23. The precipitating thing is that he's had several, I wouldn't say suicide attempts necessarily, but definitely very strong threats of suicide. And then this last month, he was pulled over for having an equipment malfunction on his car, but also had an open container in the car and refused to talk to the police. And the car is registered in my husband's name, so they called him and said, look, we're have your son pulled over, can you get him to talk to us? And anyway, it was a long drawn out event night. He ended up deciding to go to a hospital on a 72-hour hold instead of going to jail. And so long story short, there were no beds anywhere in the state of Utah for him to go to an inpatient place. So I had to go and pick him up and get him out. But I had told him, you cannot live with us anymore because drinking and driving was one of our hard stop. You cannot do this while you live here. And so then he left and he came home for one night, left and went to be with someone who lives out of state, a friend that came back the week later. In the meantime, I called his therapist, which is the first time I've ever done that. I've never had any contact with his therapist ever, but I was like, okay, he's in a bad situation, in a bad spot, threatening suicide again, left the state. And his therapist kind of led with, well, people with borderline personality disorder, this is suicidal threats and stuff are common. And I just went, what? Like it was such a validation of everything that we've dealt with him over the last however many years.
Wait, hold on. The therapist gave you your son's diagnostic?
Yes, only because, like he told me initially first, you need to call back and leave your message. I will listen to your message. And if I have questions, I will call you back.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I said, okay. So I called and left a message and told him what was going on. And he called back and he said, because this is a safety issue, because he's threatening suicide.
Okay.
And now, you're not in contact with him and you don't know where he is. This is the only reason that I can talk to you.
Okay. All right. Let's pause here. Let's pause here for a second. I want to do this. I want to take a second or a minute or two, if that's okay, and teach for just a second. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
To everybody listening, borderline personality disorder. You heard me exhale. You heard Mom go, I knew it. Here's what borderline personality disorder is. And by the way, I love these folks. And, man, I'm a pretty differentiated guy. And so if you walk away from me, that's fine. And my kids don't have it, or they haven't been diagnosed with it yet. Here's borderline personality disorder. Your feelings feel like fire. And so they experience the world differently than other people. So are you, a listener, casual listener, you get mad, they get enraged. you like somebody, you meet them at a bar and you like them, you meet them at church and you like them, their body is awash in love. I love them. And I love them forever and ever. Amen. Until they're 4 minutes late. And then I hate them. They're the worst. I destroy them. Right? And so there's this obsession with abandonment, and it's often imagined. It's often not real, like 4 minutes late, right? I was going to the bathroom and I came out. And by the time you get there, that annoyance, like let's say someone's late, 5 minutes late to a date, I can feel it. And then when I see them and I go, where were you? And they go, oh, I had to go run to the bathroom. I go, oh, okay. Often somebody with borderline personality disorder can't come back. When that train leaves the station one way or the other, it is gone. Best ever, worst ever. There is no middle ground. And in counselors, we know when somebody comes in and says, hey, I've seen 6 counselors. You're the greatest counselor of all time. You're the only one that has ever got me. Counselors go, uh-oh. Right? Because here we're going to be on the other side. And very, very impulsive. So here's a picture I want to paint for somebody who doesn't know what this is. Imagine you're walking through the woods on a hike and you're surrounded, all of a sudden bees are all over your arms and legs and they're stinging you all over. You would roll, run, flop, scream, jump in a lake, cover yourself with leaves. You do whatever you could to get these bees off of you. If somebody was to be 200 yards from you and just see you acting, they would think, oh, no, this person's bananas, B-A-N-A-N-A-S. But to you, it makes perfect sense. You're getting stung by bees, right? So if you've got borderline personality disorder, one of the strong characteristics is highly impulsive and often irresponsible behavior. So when your body, when your feelings feel like fire, you go sleep with 4 people over a 2-day period. You go, you don't drink, you drink, right?
Yep.
You don't tell somebody, hey, I can't talk to you today. You burn them to the ground. Or I feel like I can't get a hold of mom. I'm just going to tell mom I'm thinking about hurting myself. Or what a classic line is, I'm having dark, dark thoughts. And then everybody comes back, right? It's this intensity, this paranoia, an actual fear of something that folks around them often can't even see or experience. Very black or white. They call it splitting. It is this or this, period, right? It's either or, not both and. So that's borderline personality disorder in a nutshell. And the reason I love them.
You completely put my son in that nutshell.
Okay. The reason I love them is they experience the world in such a multi-colorful way, a powerful way. I'm jealous of how joyful they can be. And here's what's super frustrating. They're often brilliant. And when they tell me, I hate you, I'm able to walk away and be like, well, my wife loves me and my kids mostly do. So I'm good. My dogs like me. So it's hard when you're a mom, right?
Oh my gosh, mom guilt is the worst thing on the face of the planet.
That's right. And you have probably done the terrible thing, which is Google borderline personality disorder. And somewhere it said it's got a strong genetic link. And you've gone, oh, I did this to him.
Well, yes, but the other part of that also is everything that I've read is saying that it's a lot of it, almost every case, is trauma-induced.
Trauma-informed.
And I'm like, to my knowledge, there has been no abuse. To my knowledge, like, we have a really tight, close family. And I just kind of go, okay, how is there trauma for him? And did I cause it? And what?
So let me tell you the problem. Let me tell you the scary thing about the track you're on, and then please just stop the train where it is.
Okay.
Number one, I was with my wife for 25 years, and there were some things I didn't tell her about what I experienced as a kid.
Yeah.
Just because you're tight doesn't mean you know.
Right.
The second thing is that question that you start asking, we're a tight-knit family, and what about this? All, if you're not careful, ends up in what about me? What did I do?
Right.
And his pain and his experience of the world somehow becomes your issue.
Right.
It somehow becomes what about me? And with someone struggles with borderline, it can never loop back that way.
Yeah. I mean, It's like, seriously, he has been this way as far as I mean, I'm his mom and I gave birth to him. As far as I know, and can look back at his entire life, he has been like this. Like, his siblings would get mad because I would just be like, hey, look, he's just different. Like, he feels things intensely. So when he's mad, he's pissed.
Yeah.
And when he's happy, he's over the moon happy. And I've always, his whole life, explained him that way to people.
Right.
And so I don't know. I'm like, so now that he is no longer living with us, we went down today, mostly my husband, because I couldn't do it because I cried the whole time.
Okay.
To the room that he was staying in. And I said, I just feel like I'm betraying him by packing up his stuff.
In your house?
In my house.
Okay.
And my husband said, no, he has to start learning the consequences of his adult choices. And I'm like, I know, but as a mom, I cannot, like, it's so hard.
The greatest gift you can give him is both, I see you, and I believe you, and here are my boundaries. It's the greatest gift you can give him.
I feel so guilty as a mom setting boundaries.
I know, and that's a those feelings you feel. You're asking him, who gets so enraged.
And he does. Like, it's
I know, but
scary.
listen to me. He gets so enraged, and he has figured out something that numbs that rage. Alcohol.
Yep.
And you're asking him, when you feel enraged, don't go drive. We have to develop some different behaviors.
Right.
I'm asking you the same thing. Your guilt and you're allowing him to just keep doing whatever he wants to do because you feel guilty hasn't worked, right?
Right.
Let's try something else. The greatest gift you can give him is, I love you. I believe you that your skin is on fire. You cannot bring cocaine into my house. I believe you that you are in pain. If you make a threat on your life, I will call the police 100% of the time. Every time. And that's not going to be your avenue to me. That's going to be your avenue to a 72-hour hold.
Right.
An avenue to me is you walking in the front door and letting me hold my baby. I don't care how old you are.
Right.
But if you act only as a response to the guilt you feel, nothing changes.
Yeah.
And by the way, he has to go get DBT, dialectical behavior therapy. He has to choose that. That's the path for him.
Okay.
And you can't do that for him.
So what do I do in the future? Because I can just see this cycling around again, that he's going to lose this place where he's staying right now and say, I don't have any place to live. Can I come home? And I'm like, how do you look? I know logically that I can say, no, you can't. But how do you emotionally, the emotional side, my heart says, how do you tell your kid, I'm sorry, you can't come live here?
You grieve.
Yeah.
You allow yourself to feel it. And in the same way, you would tell him, hey, I know you are so angry about being abandoned and you're about to go home with those 4 women. Please don't. This will pass. I'll tell you the same thing. Everything in your body will scream at you, let him come home, let him come home, let him come home.
Mm-hmm.
That will pass.
Okay.
Or you can come home. Here are the stipulations. Here are the boundaries. Right. And be honest. I've not held these in the past. And I'm learning that I have not done you any favors.
Yeah.
Or you can
this
come
was
home,
the first time.
but you will enroll in DBT. And I would like to, if you feel safe, I would like you to sign that I can have a conversation with your counselor so I can see how you're doing. If you don't go,
Right.
I hear you that it's scary. I hear you that it makes you feel powerless. And here's the truth. The truth is you can't live here unless you are actively pursuing care.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, Mom, borderline personality disorder has a high rate of success for treatment. And it is hell. And it's long. Because you basically have to learn inside my body that what my body feels in any given moment is not the truth. And that's just tough to reimagine, re-experience life, right?
Right.
That's hard. He's got a tall order ahead of him, and he can do it.
Yeah, it was so interesting because I felt like 1,000-pound weight lifted off me when I finally heard that.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I've been throwing darts at a wall, and now I actually have a target.
Except here's the problem. Okay. Here's the problem, Mom. You don't have a target. He does.
Right.
You have been solving his problems his whole life, and you can't solve this one.
You're right. But I feel like at least it gives it an identity and a name.
Oh, yeah. We named the dragon on this one. Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, I'm not crazy.
Nope.
Because, he goes into his rages and telling me how stupid and dumb I am. And you know what I mean? Like, you just feel like an idiot.
But hold on. That's when you stop and say, I'm going to stop you. I hear you that you're very mad. I believe you. You are not allowed to be disrespectful in my house to me or your father, period. So if you choose to be disrespectful, you're choosing to leave. Oh my gosh, you and that. I'm going to stop you right there. This is your last shot.
Mm-hmm.
You're choosing to leave. I prefer you to stay. I want you here. And by the way, that interaction is not going to solve this. He's got to go get very directed therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard. It's hard. He's got to learn tolerance for that fire feeling. That body feels like it's on fire, but it's actually not.
Yeah.
And then he's got to learn some new behaviors in place of the ones that are impulsive and ultimately destructive. He's got to retrain his body as to what feels normal. That's tough.
So I can just continue to tell him that I love him and I support him and
all day long. I love you. Yeah, that's one of the most important things. I see you. And here's the truth. You can't do that.
Right.
Or you cannot live here. I would be honored if you would have dinner with me every Wednesday night and lunch with me every Sunday afternoon.
Right.
Forget you. If you're not going to let me live here, I don't want anything to do with you. I hate that. I hear you. And I know you're mad. I hear it. But you can't live here. But I would really love it if I could buy you dinner on Wednesdays and Sundays to catch up, see how you're doing.
Right.
And if you fulfill program A, B, C, and D, I'd love to figure out helping you get an apartment or helping you move back in. Or I'd love to go to therapy with you. See what I'm saying?
Right.
We're not abandoning him, which is his worst nightmare.
Right.
We are saying, I'll walk alongside you, but he doesn't get to dictate. His volatility doesn't get to dictate this relationship. His stable mother and father do. And over time, hopefully, that is something he can anchor into, finally. Because he lives an anchorless life. And he's just whipped around by feelings. And by the way, for those of you wondering, oh, is that real? Borderline personality disorder is very, very real. And the feelings, the intensity is very real. I've seen it. It is wow. Deep compassion for folks who struggle with that. And my goodness, they're some of my favorite people on the planet. But again, I don't have one that's a child, so I can walk out of a room and be like, hey, dude, I'm not going to do this, but I love you. And when you're ready to hang out, I would love to. One of my favorite people. I've had students over the years that were brilliant and hilarious and so fun And whoo, when things got sideways, it was tough, very, very tough. Then deep shame and all of it looped back. Here's what I'm saying. Be present. Let them know you see them and you hear them. And then you got to hold firm on the boundaries. And it sounds like, Mom, it would be good for you to go talk to somebody too, to have somebody walk alongside you and give you some tips and some support and some tools on how to love somebody, be in a relationship with somebody that struggles with borderline personality disorder. It's very, very hard. Whew. And let's set down the bricks of guilt and what did I do? What about me? Let's don't do that. Let's make it about what kind of home do I want to have? What are the boundaries I want to build? And how can I love and support him? Because my guess is, Mom, you didn't do anything wrong. The truth is, you got a hurting son. Let's head that way. I'm grateful for you, Janelle. Thank you so much for the call.